All right, welcome into the official. We are continuing our round one mock of the 2025 freshman class. We are interested in players who are going to come in and be studs on our fantasy rosters for college football. If you don't know about college fantasy football and you're checking in this just because you like recruiting, let it be known college fantasy is on the rise. Underdog just released best ball drafts for the college football season in 2024. We here at the official are interested in kind of that dynasty aspect, that long-term aspect. So we're looking at freshmen of the 2025 class already who are already committing and already rounding out 2025 freshman classes. That is happening in real life. So we want to get the jump on these players. So this is our mock. We've already done picks 1 through 8, and now we're going to do 9, 10, 11, and 12. But before we get to the picks, like and subscribe to this video if you like what we do here on the official and you want to see more and get those updates. But before we pick, I'm going to ask you guys a question because I think if people are drafting or watching this mock saying, what's your mentality going in? College football, as we know, is different than NFL. One big reason is the systems that get played in college football can vary so drastically. There's more margin than in the NFL. So you can have, crazy pass heavy teams, crazy run heavy teams, and everything in the middle. What is your favorite landing spot, favorite environment for a running back, quarterback, or receiver? I'll take quarterback. Matt, whatever I assigned you, I think before that, I think I gave you receiver. Who's your favorite landing spot for receiver, like system or current P4 team?
Yeah, so your verbiage there, you said favorite, which was not very good, I think. Because favorite for me is easily Ohio State. Not only do I love it because it's my team, but also because obviously if you go to Ohio State and you put up a wide receiver 1 or 2 season, you're going to be drafted in the first round. So it's kind of hard not to pick them.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's a great. What word would you use if not favorite?
Best, most optimal.
Okay, most optimal. I like that
Best
too.
for
I like that
fantasy.
too. All right, David, what is your most optimal environment for running backs?
I think the things I'm considering most is, I don't know, I can pick a team in a second, but I'll just say, like, you want to I like to look at pace of play, just how many plays they run. I like to look at neutral game script, how often they're running, kind of like depth charts in general. Like, you obviously want to get a guy that you want to bring in a guy that's like definitely talented than what they already have and what they usually get in general. So those are a few of the things I'm looking at, but Oklahoma State is definitely like one of those teams that they just kind of always have somebody that smashes. You can see like what Ollie Gordon's doing. He's not even like he's definitely talented. He's more talented than someone they usually get. Just gets tons and tons of touches, and they just feed him and they use him in the passing game as well. So it's just the volume thing. So it's a good combination of the talent and the volume, and then he gets like 80% of the touches. And there's just other teams that are like Tennessee's kind of a tease because they kind of touch a lot of that stuff where it's like they play fast, they actually run more than they pass, but the coaching tendency is to rotate running backs no matter what, just to keep guys fresh, keep them fresh and fast, and they just cycle guys through. So you just want to go for a coach that typically will just ride one guy,
run him into the ground.
Yeah, basically. So that's kind of what I look for.
Yeah, Gundy is absolutely a workhorse coach. It's his philosophy. He'll give a guy 30 plus touches a game, and we've had running backs come through there. Chuba Hubbard, Ollie Gordon right now. I mean, just breaking the game for fantasy. So don't disagree with Oklahoma State. That would be near the top of my list for running backs as well. And I'll take quarterbacks right now. Based on what we saw Bo Nix do and what we've seen some other quarterbacks do at Oregon, I kind of feel like Oregon, as far as a P4 team, is one of the ones where I would love to see a quarterback go. They have tons of talent. I just took Corian Moore earlier in this draft, who's a great receiver. They've got tons of skill position talent. They play fast. Now, the only thing I'll say is this could change because they've been in the Pac-12. And as we know, defense is not that strong in the Pac-12. Historically speaking, and now they're going to be playing in the Big Ten. it's going to change the landscape. I still think they'll be productive. I still think that system is probably just fast and furious and scores a ton of points. But that could change a little bit with the dates on the schedule against Michigan, Ohio State, some of these other teams that they didn't necessarily have to face year in and year out. But Oregon would be one of my very top, if not the top, quarterback destination at the moment. All right, so let's get into the mock. We're here at the very end of this thing. 9, 10, 11, and 12 picks to round out the first round of our 2025 mock. And Matt, you're up with 109.
All right. Here I will be going with Vernell Brown, wide receiver, Florida. I think he just committed last week. And yeah, he's kind of risen in the rankings this offseason. He's had very good showings at camp events. We've talked about before. He kind of reminds us a lot of like a Eugene Wilson, who Florida also already has. Smaller build, wide receiver, but extremely good mover. He's very refined, ready to go, great hands. There's really not much to not like about his profile, except now that he's going to Florida, which kind of sucks for CFF, but I'll live with it. I just think he's a good player with a good NFL upside, and he can quickly make a role for himself there at Florida, I think.
Definitely don't hate it. Well, I hate that you picked him because he was going to be my guy if he fell to me at 111. So, but I'm glad to see the Gators get top first round fantasy pick here. David, 110, I guess you're at here.
I'll go with Jamie French. He's deciding between Texas and LSU. Either of those would be really good spots. I guess, I don't know if Ohio State's still in the mix, but either way, yeah. I mean, all good spots. Really refined already. He knows how to run routes. A solid 6'1", 185 is a solid size. Not a freak athlete by any means, but athletic enough. So I think he's pretty easily projected to the NFL. It's just a matter of how high, really. So I think I guess I'm going a little safer at this point.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, you're falling into the good route runners who aren't that athletic archetype now for receivers. And so, yeah, we said Jamie French earlier in the year is that kind of guy. I'm going to go something maybe it's crazy here. But we talk often about having a tight end who's really, really good is a big advantage. And so I'm going to go Lincoln Cure. He's a 5-star tight end. We don't get 5-star tight ends that often, although I think there's at least 2 this year in the 2025 class. Going to Kansas State, which, other than Iowa, Kansas State is a top destination in my mind. They usually produce good tight end production in the offense there. And right now, I think the arrow is trending up on Kansas State in terms of the quarterbacks and running backs and receivers they're bringing in. They're going to have competent skill position on offense. And, he just adds to the mix there. Hyper athletic guy. I think he can be a weapon on offense. So give me Lincoln Cure. Maybe it's silly, but there's no running backs I'm in love with. There's no receivers I'm in love with at this point. And I'll take some QBs later. All right. Matt.
Gross. I'm disgusted, honestly.
Okay. All right. We like tight end in 2024. It can't be that bad. All right. Well, get the throw up out of your mouth here, and Matt, go with 112. Who are you going to take to right the ship here?
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I love this player, but I mean, at this point, I think he's just a good value, and that would be Cleek Lockett, wide receiver out of Texas. Still uncommitted, I believe. Is that right? I don't think he's committed.
I think he's trending to Texas, but uncommitted.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've kind of been all over the place with him. I do think he does remind me a lot of CeeDee Lamb, but the odds of him being CeeDee Lamb are obviously so low. He's a very unique player in both his build and his play style. So I don't know. He's the kind of guy where he's either just a total hit or this just doesn't work. And I honestly have no clue with him yet, but I think end of first is a appropriate spot for him. I like his play style enough. I think he's translatable enough. So I'm fine.
And, I think the Texas, assuming he does wind up at Texas, that offense is in good hands. They've got a quarterback for 2 or 3 more years. And Sark's offense is, certainly nothing in the bat. So I think it's a fine situation to invest in for sure. Well, I guess I have the stinker pick of the draft. We have a little time here at the end. David, what was your favorite pick of anybody?
I feel like it's fairly chalky. I feel like, except for the tight end in there, but I like Lincoln Cure. So I mean, you can kind of talk me into it, but yeah, I think we kind of. I mean, Bryce Underwood, obviously, I'm gonna like that one, but it's just kind of a weaker class. I feel like it drops off a little bit. These wide receivers, I don't even like. I feel like they're like high floor for the most part.
Yeah, we've said that a lot so far this summer. I feel like with a lot of the guys we've looked at, kind of that similar refrain. Matt, anything stand out to you other than Lincoln Courage being a terrible pick, but any values that fell? I mean, it is chalky. This is our first time going through, and we all generally agree. But anything, even one or two picks more than higher or lower?
For the most part, it went as I was expected, except for Caleb Cunningham. Now, and with him again, it's just another guy where like we just don't have a lot of information on him. He's a seemingly very athletic wide receiver with a pretty solid junior tape, and then we know literally nothing else outside of that, other than he's been to Bama too, which is a fantastic CFF and NFL projectable spot, obviously. I mean, we just don't know. I mean, he doesn't go to camps. He doesn't do anything else outside of play football, play basketball, and then rinse, repeat. So we'll see how he does this senior season. I'm not saying this is a bad value at this point. It's just I probably would be a bit more cautious on him at this point than I think David is here.
All right. Well, to round it out, especially those listening on a podcast can't read the screen. To round out the round one here, David took Bryce Underwood, Deuce Knight, Caleb Cunningham, and Jamie French. Love those QBs. That was awesome to get Deuce Knight at pick 4. I had Decoria Moore, Houston Longstreet, Asame Chroma, and Lincoln Cure. And then Matt had Tavian St. Clair, Keelan Russell, Vernell Brown, and Kalik Lockett. So no one wound up with 3 QBs. Everyone had at least 1 or 2. We went heavy at the top, but then, started drafting some other players. I think that's probably what it's going to keep looking like. I think Matt made a good point about insulated value with QBs. We know that happens like kind of in dynasty super flex drafts for the NFL. I think it makes sense here as well. So keeping that in mind going forward, I think that was a good point that I sometimes forget about. So, all right, everybody, thank you for a great show. Continue watching, and we will get back to prospect evaluations next week. But this has been a fun one, kind of putting our thoughts down on paper and how these guys actually flesh out in a real life draft.